We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys first in this podcast, of course, coming off of a very emotional win against the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football. I believe the final score was 33 to 16, 33 to 17, maybe. And yeah, I mean, just first off, what were the main takeaways that you got from that, Joe, from that game?
I've never seen interior defensive linemen play like that for the Dallas Cowboys. I know it was the Raiders. I know it was the Raiders, but something about that game spoke to me. I mean, how many times do you see the two highest graded interior linemen for PFF were both Cowboys this week? Can you believe that? Both.
I can.
So it's just unreal. This three-headed monster that the Cowboys have now, and Quentin Williams, Kenny Clark, both acquired this season, and of course, Osa Odighizuwa, the third in the three-headed monster. Unreal to watch. I cannot believe this is what the Cowboys have now. Growing up, of course, we're not used to having dominant interior play. Run defense is always a struggle every single year. 6 rushes for 7 yards, Ashton Jeanty had. Unbelievable to see. And again, it's easy to say, like, why can't you be more, down the line on this? It's the Raiders. We just haven't seen it. And with all that's going on in Dallas sports this year, you've had Luka Doncic shipped off. You've had Micah Parsons shipped off as well. And we've seen how this defense has played in 2025 this year. I think this is a step in the right direction for sure, albeit not a great Chip Kelly-led Raiders offense led by Geno Smith. When you have good pressure, look at that. Look how much better your secondary can play. Deron Bland had a much better game. When you have a more solid pass rush and more pressure towards your quarterbacks, it's much more possible to look better in the back end. So that's how I look at this game. Not so much the offense, but the defense that has looked like a completely different thing, a 180 in Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah, and I again, this is the Las Vegas Raiders, like you said. Um, but we talked on this podcast the week before and mentioned how we're like, hey, don't give up the fact that, this team has made mediocre to bad quarterbacks look very good this season so far, and Geno Smith could have a good game. That defense shut him out. I mean, 27 for 42, 238 yards, had a pick, only one touchdown, got sacked 4 times. I don't know what the season high is for sacks for the Cowboys, but four seems like a pretty high number for what we've been doing this season. Um, and yeah, I mean, you talked a little bit about the defense. Obviously, the acquisition of Quentin Williams, he had in a fantastic game. He had 1 sack in 8 games for New York. Comes in, gets 1.5 sacks in his first game as a Cowboy. Kind of what we are used to seeing from Quentin Williams, and hopefully something that we as Cowboys fans can get used to for Quentin Williams. But I'll flip it over to the offense. Obviously, the offense dominated, but I want to talk about how this offense has looked very different on the road versus at AT&T Stadium. The one road win that we have so far this season was the New York Jets. So, the two road wins that we have so far this season aren't very impressive, but when you put those two together, hey, this is pure mid right now for the Cowboys. Pure mid. They have they can beat down on the bad teams on the league, but once it gets to the competitive teams or even just a 500 team on the road, they get very the offense starts to stifle a little bit. The defense has struggled. But, hey, hopefully they've turned a new leaf with this game. Hopefully this is a confidence booster because, man, are they gonna need it? Because this schedule is relentless for the rest of the month and heading into December. We talked about it a lot, but you got the Eagles now on Sunday. Then you go to Thanksgiving, you play the Kansas City Chiefs, and then you have a Thursday night football game against the Lions in Detroit
Oh,
right after
Jesus.
that. 3 games in 11 days, all against two of them against Super Bowl, the Super Bowl teams from last year, and another of the Detroit Lions, who have always been ranked as one of the top teams. Having a down year, though. Having a down year. Not in the playoff picture right now. Um, but this is a very tough schedule. I thought it was pretty funny that they put the Cowboys in the hunt in the
I
graphic that
saw
said in the
that.
hunt. You saw that?
I was just about to mention that. The Cowboys are officially in the hunt.
which
Four,
is
five,
pretty.
and one, all four wins.
Yeah, and there's I mean this to make the playoffs at this point, it seems like you have to win at least two out of these three games in the next the next sequence, this Philadelphia, Kansas City, Detroit. I mean, who do you see us doing that? Do you have confidence in the Cowboys doing that?
I think they can for sure beat Philadelphia at home. I just feel like this team is locked in right now. I'm really iffy about Thanksgiving game. Usually this is a game where I feel like the Cowboys are relaxing. I'm eating my Thanksgiving food. They don't always win on Thanksgiving, as we know. But I usually feel as though on Thanksgiving it's a game that I don't feel so tense about. This game, when you have Patrick Mahomes coming home, AT&T Stadium, everybody in the country will be watching this right here. The Chiefs are desperate. They're just as desperate as the Cowboys, to be honest. And they lose a heartbreaker with Will Lutz's game-winning field goal in Mile High Stadium. I mean, they're just as desperate. They're going to be angry coming into AT&T Stadium. Going to need a win. Or at least the Cowboys haven't played the Chiefs in a few years. And the last time they played the Chiefs in AT&T Stadium, Alex Smith was the quarterback. And that's when Tyreek Hill had that buzzer beating touchdown at the end of the first half, if you remember that CBS game
I
before
do.
Patrick Mahomes was officially the starter. That was so long ago. I cannot believe that was the last time the Chiefs played the Cowboys in AT&T. But that's the game I'm worried the most about. I feel like the Cowboys this year can hang for sure with the Eagles. We saw it in the kickoff game, and they can hang with Detroit at Ford Field. We saw what Jared Goff can play like when he has pressure right in his face. Most quarterbacks can't survive like that when they have stout defenses, having solid pass rush in their face. And I don't know if it's crazy to say, but the way that interior D line played against Las Vegas, I feel like that gives them the chance, actually. Not the offense of the Cowboys, the front seven in Jared Goff's face because he's not a runner. He can't really escape the pocket. He is a statue in the pocket. He's a good quarterback for sure. He's one of my favorites to watch, believe it or not, amidst all the slander he gets. And after what he played like last game against the Eagles, rightfully so. It felt like he was throwing the game at sometimes. But for sure, I think this interior of Kenny Clark and Quentin Williams can keep the Cowboys alive in Detroit. But for sure, worry the most about the Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. I think it's possible to win two of three.
That's pretty interesting that you say the Chiefs are uh the most that you're worried about. I I think it's going to be very difficult. I mean, this is a make or break part of the season, obviously. Um, there is the Eagles, I like to say that obviously they're one of the luckier teams in the NFL with how their games start to play out, but they're still obviously a Super Bowl team for a reason. Their defense has been locked down. I think they're only averaging like 15 points per game given up in the last four games. And that's a little concerning just based off the fact that basically these last three games, if you're gonna not count the Raiders game, which you should obviously, but going up against the Cardinals and Broncos, the Broncos have a great defense. Cardinals, not so much. Those are some really, really tough losses, and they've shown that the offense has really started to slow down. Javonte Williams has also slowed down. Even in this game against Las Vegas, he didn't score a touchdown. He did get 22 rushes, I believe 93 yards. So, obviously a great performance regardless, but he wasn't a necessarily a game breaker that we're going to need him to be against Philadelphia. And so I'm just a tad worried about Philadelphia. I think that game is going to be a tough one to go against. The Chiefs, I think that the Chiefs have a chance, but they're 1-4 on the road too. They've been struggling on the road. It's honestly really weird to see how NFL teams can really, really struggle on the road, especially someone like the Chiefs, who are, used to playing in competitive games, used to playing in the high intensity stadiums. Usually when they come to town anywhere, people are dialed in, rooting against them. And so it is surprising to see. I think that the Chiefs are going to be able to rebound. They do have the Colts coming up on Sunday, which is another competitive game. The Colts are starting to slow down a little bit this season as well, so maybe that's their get back game. They come back Thanksgiving and are, a little lethargic. with their pregame meal or such. But yeah, I mean it's going to be a tough one. I don't have as much optimism as you do with the Dallas Cowboys, but it's a I guess we'll get into it because we'll talk about some prop bets for the Philadelphia Eagles game real quick. Um, so let me check the stats real quick. We have the betting line currently set to 3.5 points favoring Philadelphia. Joe, it sounds like you think that the Cowboys are going to cover that, right?
Absolutely. This to me feels free almost. I really think that the
Free.
Cowboys plus 3.5 is right there for the taking. My goodness. I mean, we know how Dak has played against the NFC East, but against the Eagles specifically, it's usually pretty solid. I trust that this team, specifically the offense, will get hot at the right time. I think that when they welcome the Eagles in, by the way, Eagles wearing their Kelly green throwbacks in AT&T Stadium. I love that decision, by the way. Going to be a great uniform matchup. I think that the Cowboys cover this plus 3.5. I know that doesn't matter, but it's just pretty cool. Plus 3.5
Pretty cool.
is for sure a play. It's going to be a battle of the red zone. I think plus 3.5 is right there for the taking.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. I've always been super confident with the Cowboys in games like this, being back home divisional rival, especially coming off a very emotional win like they just did. This game just feels like it's gonna be a dogfight, and the Cowboys are usually in it to have some high scoring shootouts. They're not used to the slow grind of a game I think that the Eagles are going to put on the Cowboys with their run game. We'll see if the run game can get fixed like they did against Vegas. It was dominant against Vegas, like you mentioned with Gene T. Saquon Barkley's a whole different monster, however, obviously, and um, it's going to be tough to stop him. He's not had a very good year up to his standards as recent years have been, but the Cowboys, he was able to run all over them. Jalen Hurts as well throughout that first half of the first game. So I'm going to go with Philadelphia does cover this, and maybe this is a little reverse
And by
psychology.
the way,
What's up? What's up?
I was going to say, by the way, this Eagles offense has not looked exactly, you know, stellar. The defense has been winning these last
Oh
two
no.
games. I mean, that I feel like that also helps the Cowboys' case to cover in this game in AT&T Stadium. I mean, against Detroit, Jared Goff, like I was saying, atrocious effort. That offense could not convert a fourth down to save their lives. And again, this credit to Vic Fangio as well. One of the best DCs in the game. So underrated. Could not believe Philadelphia picked him up last year in Miami, let him go. But back-to-back defensive gems against the Packers and the Lions that have led the way for the Eagles the last two games. And offensively, Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator, has gotten a lot of flack, even winning these last. They've won four straight games, by the way, leading into this Dallas game. And you're still hearing complaints from fans, rightfully so. 10 points against Green Bay and Lambeau, won 16 points against Detroit in Philadelphia and still won. I think the offensive struggles will continue for sure against the Cowboys. And I don't know what Jalen Hurts can do with pressure up the middle.
The Eagles have a stat. I mean, it's really interesting you bring that up. I mean, Devontae Williams or not Devontae Smith, um, AJ Brown, obviously, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts. Stat wise, they're not having the best years. Jalen Hurts, all right. Saquon Barkley, all right. Devontae Smith and AJ Brown have been pretty terrible. And other than if you take away that Minnesota game that they played in, where both of them went over 100 yards, I believe, um, it's been terrible. And for them to still be, I think 9-2 right now, 8-2,
Yeah,
something like
82.
that.
82.
Yeah, 8-2. That is incredible. That is just mind-boggling that they've still been able to win games. It's some kind of devil magic that keeps going on in that Lincoln Financial field. But I mean, do you think so? Do you think this is going to be 48 and a half over under? We've always gone over on this.
I like your idea of the dogfight. For that reason, it's going to be an under for me. I think this is going to be, again, a red zone battle. I think they can move the ball outside of the red zone for sure. You're going to see Dak do it and move the chains with this offense. I really trust that, especially in AT&T Stadium. But when it gets to the red zone, I think both teams are going to struggle. You're going to see more of a tush push from Philadelphia. I think under ever so slightly, possibly 45 points.
I'm gonna go under two. Um, I'm just gonna go with. Do you have a final score prediction?
I'll go Cowboys 25. No, this is not the number I said combined, but I'll say 25-22.
25-22. I'm gonna go Philadelphia 24, Cowboys 17. I'm just going off that. I mean, it's gonna be a tough game for the offense, I think. I mean, can they respond after Vegas? Can they keep that going? The Eagles, season low completion rate, or right now, the best team of opposed completion rate for the quarterback at 53.5 percentage rate in the last four games, 15.2 points per game in the last four, 12 sacks in those four games. They have been covering on all different aspects on the defense. I think the offense can struggle here, so going to be a tough one. I'm going to go 24-17, but that game will be on Sunday at 3:25 kickoff.